I don't usually talk about my family's almost move, because even saying the name of that place feels like inviting it back into my life. But a few months ago, my dad found an old letter in a bundle of documents from my late grandfather. It was addressed to him, but it was clearly written years earlier. It said my dad had inherited a house from a great uncle none of us had ever heard of. The letter was formal, legal. It included an address, instructions, and the name of a local real estate agent who would handle everything. Compton Dawes. My dad called the number. The man who answered sounded polite in a way that didn't feel warm, like a customer service voice. He told us the house was in a town called Dark Falls, about 4 hours away, and that he could show us the property that weekend. We treated it like an odd surprise. A free house is a free house. It didn't feel strange until we got close, because it was the middle of July, and the town looked like it was stuck in late October. I'm not exaggerating. The trees were massive, old, and bent over the road like they were trying to hide the town from the sun. Their branches overlapped so thickly that the whole neighborhood sat under this artificial darkness, like the light got tired and gave up. Dead brown leaves covered the street. Not a few leaves. Layers. Like nobody had swept in years. And the weirdest part? There was no wind. The leaves didn't move. The branches didn't sway. Everything just hung there. My little brother Josh noticed it first. "Why is it so dark?" he asked from the back seat. Our dog Petey started whining, nose pressed to the crack of the window, like he was smelling something he didn't like. Then we saw the house. It was enormous, antique. The kind of place that makes you feel small before you even step inside. 2 big bay windows stared down from the second floor, and I know this sounds cheesy, but they looked like eyes. Not the cool haunted house kind of eyes. The I see you kind. Compton Dawes was waiting on the porch like he'd been standing there the whole time. He was older, thin, dressed too neatly for the heat, and smiling like he'd practiced it in a mirror. He shook my dad's hand like it was a business deal, then looked at us, me, Josh, and Petey, with this calm interest. "Welcome," he said. "You're going to love it here." Josh immediately started complaining about moving. Petey's ears were pinned back, and he kept pulling at the leash toward the car like he wanted out. Mr. Dawes didn't react to any of it. He just unlocked the door and stepped inside like the house belonged to him, not my dad. The air inside was cold. Not nice air conditioning, cold, more like the kind of cold you feel in a basement that hasn't been opened in years. As we toured, my dad was doing the normal thing, asking questions, looking at walls, checking floors. My mom was trying to stay positive. I was wandering behind them, staring at all the old furniture covered in sheets like the house was still waiting for someone. That's when I saw the boy. I was halfway up the stairs when I looked down the hallway and saw a kid standing in one of the doorways. Around my age. Pale face. Dark hair. He wasn't smiling. He just stared at me. For maybe 2 seconds. Then he turned and moved down the hall, and when I rushed forward to see where he went, the hallway was empty. No footsteps. No doors closing. Nothing. I told myself it was nerves. Maybe an old mirror. Maybe my brain was filling in shapes in the dim light. But I remember one detail clearly. He looked like he lived there. Not like he was visiting. After seeing my bedroom, I felt weirdly better. It was the first place in the house that didn't feel completely wrong. I went outside to tell Josh. But Josh and Petey were gone. My dad called his name. No answer. Mr. Dawes stepped onto the porch calmly, like missing children was normal. "Cemetery is that way," he said, pointing like he was giving directions to a grocery store. My mom blinked. "Cemetery?" Mr. Dawes smiled. "It's a habit. Children wander." That should have been the moment we left. Instead, we followed his directions and drove through the town. And that's when I noticed something else. There were houses everywhere. Nice houses, some with porches, some with swing sets, some with bikes leaning against garages. But no people. No one in yards. No one on sidewalks. No one driving. It was like the town had been built and then abandoned, except everything looked maintained. Like something was keeping it ready. We found Josh in the cemetery, chasing Petey between gravestones. Petey was frantic, barking in a way I'd never heard before, high and desperate. My dad grabbed him and clipped the leash on tight. Petey kept trying to lunge back toward the stones, growling like he wanted to warn us. We dropped Mr. Dawes at his office, and he told my parents we could finalize the contracts the following week. Then we left. And as soon as we passed the edge of Dark Falls, the sunlight hit the car again like we'd driven out of a tunnel. None of us spoke for a while. Moving day came faster than it should have. My best friend Kathy slept over the night before we left. She kept trying to make me feel better, saying Dark Falls was only 4 hours away, like that made it normal. We arrived in the rain. It was windy, and the trees over the house creaked like they were talking to each other. Inside, I started noticing things immediately: soft footsteps in hallways when no one was there. Faint whispers that stopped the second I turned my head. Sometimes I'd catch movement from the corner of my eye, like children running past doorways. Josh said I was trying to scare him. But he stopped saying that after Petey started refusing to go into certain rooms. We met locals. Kids mostly. They were friendly in the way people are friendly when they already know you. A boy named Ray Thurston introduced himself like he'd been waiting. A girl named Karen smiled too widely and told me casually that she used to live in our house. Not, someone lived there. She lived there. Then Ray said it too. So did another kid later. They all said it like a fun fact. Like it wasn't weird. 2 weeks later, Petey disappeared. No open doors. No broken window. No bark. Just gone. That night, Josh came into my room and whispered, he went back to the cemetery. I wanted to tell him he was being stupid, but I remembered how Petey acted the first time. So we went. Outside, Dark Falls was darker at night than it should have been. Our flashlight beams looked weak, like the darkness swallowed them. We bumped into Ray near the cemetery entrance. He told us we shouldn't be out so late. His voice sounded normal, but his eyes looked tired. Then he said something that didn't make sense. You don't understand what this place is. In the cemetery we found gravestones with names we recognized. Ray Thurston, Karen, other kids we'd met. The dates were old. Josh's voice shook. That's you. Ray stared at his own name like it was a reminder. Then he nodded. We're the living dead, he said, like he was explaining the rules of a game. Once a year we need blood from someone newly killed. It keeps us like this. My stomach dropped. What about Petey? I asked. Ray's expression didn't change. Dogs always know. That's when Ray moved. Not like a kid. Like something hungry. He grabbed my arm and his hand was freezing but strong. Too strong. I screamed and Josh swung his flashlight up toward Ray's face. The beam hit him fully. Ray didn't burn like a movie vampire. He just came apart. His skin shriveled instantly. His eyes sank. Then he collapsed into a pile of bones like the light had erased him. Josh and I ran. And I swear, behind us, the cemetery started filling with movement. Shadows lifting off the ground. Shapes stepping out from behind stones. When we reached the house, it wasn't safe either. The dead children were there, crowded in the hallway, smiling and whispering like they'd been waiting for us to come back. They told us there was no great uncle. No inheritance. The letter was bait. Then the front door opened and Mr. Dawes stepped inside. The children vanished like smoke. Mr. Dawes looked at us calmly. I found your parents, he said. Come with me. For 1 second I believed him. Then I saw it. A gravestone in the corner of the yard, half covered in leaves, like someone had tried to hide it. Compton Dawes. Mr. Dawes followed my eyes and smiled. Yes, he said softly. I'm dead too. He explained the town like he was reciting a brochure. Years ago, a yellow gas leaked from a nearby factory. It rolled through Dark Falls and changed everyone. They didn't die. They became something else. Something that needed to feed to keep pretending. Josh hit him in the head with the flashlight. Mr. Dawes staggered. Not in pain and annoyance. We ran. We found our parents. We dragged them out. And we did the only thing that worked. We brought down the biggest overhanging tree we could, cutting, pushing, forcing it until it snapped and fell across the road, opening the sky. Light spilled through. Not a little. A lot. The darkness broke. And in that light, the shapes in the town started crumbling. Not screaming. Not fighting. Just collapsing, dry and brittle like the sun was the truth they couldn't survive. We didn't stop running until we were out. We went back to our old neighborhood and packed in a single day. We didn't argue. We didn't debate. We just left. On our final drive away from that house, I looked back and saw another family pulling in, confused, hopeful, standing in the rain. A man was guiding them toward the porch. Tall, thin, dressed too neatly, smiling like he'd practiced. He looked like Mr. Dawes. I told myself it was impossible. Then I rolled down my window and called out to one of their kids. Hey, I said. I used to live in that house. The kid smiled politely. and the man on the porch turned his head slowly toward me like he'd heard. Even from that distance I could see his expression. Not surprised, just pleased.